When the winter snow has melted and the spring months have rolled around, every hunter gets excited about the anticipation of turkey season. While this is the case here in our farm, we are also anticipating spring planting season. Fawns are developing, antlers are starting to form, and turkeys are about to lay eggs, making your food plot strategy vital to the quality wildlife on your property.
At the beginning of each year, when we think about food plot strategy in our farm, we want to know what time of the year a certain crop will be available to wildlife and how long it lasts. For this episode, we solely want to focus on warm season crops, which is what most people plant during the spring and early summer. Also, this food plot breakdown will just be a general overlook of what we plant during this time and why. We will certainly get into more detail, such as planting techniques and farming implements in future episodes of the off-season. For us here in Pennsylvania, our spring food plot season starts in April and usually ends about the month of June. In order to explain what we plant in our farm and why, we first need to clarify the difference between an annual plot and a perennial plot. Annual forages germinate from a seed, grow for several months, produce a new seed, and then die off in less than a year. Some examples include crimson clover, soybeans, and corn, whereas perennial forages usually persist for 2 or more years depending on species, soil type, disease, precipitation, and several other factors. Some examples of these would include your red and white clovers, alfalfa, and chicory. We can't stress it enough, it is super important to have a mixture of these two types of forages on your property to provide wildlife with the nutrition they need year-round. Before we get into the food plot specifics of our property, I must encourage everyone that is currently planting or wants to start to get your soil tested. Each season before we begin the planting process, we take soil samples from each food plot and send them off to the nearest lab, which just so happens to be Penn State University. They quickly analyze the soil and give us a breakdown of what it needs in terms of lime and fertilizer. This is a super crucial first step in getting the results that you want. On our farm, which is over 3,000 acres, we prefer to have 65% of our crops as a perennial and 35% as an annual. Having the right mixture of annual and perennial crops come spring will allow you to cover the nutritional gap that the whitetails and turkeys need to reach their full potential. This also ensures there is always something palatable on your property, keeping the wildlife around the area instead of on your neighbor's land. In particular, perennials play a huge role in providing deer and turkey with the nutrition they need during the spring and early summer months. This is, of course, when fawns are about to be born, and they are also depending on their mother's health for nutrition. Whitetail bucks are also developing their antlers during this time, making it very important to provide high-quality forage. Transitioning over to the turkey side of things, which they also need a high-quality nutrition because of the exertion during the mating and hatching season. On our farm, the perennials that we love to plant, and I know I've mentioned them before, are clover, chicory, and alfalfa. These forages are the first to green in the spring and provide quality nutrition the whole way into midsummer. These crops do require some maintenance in the form of mowing and spraying in order to control the weed competition. It is important to eliminate as many other weed species as possible that are also competing for the same sunlight, soil nutrients, and water. Additionally, perennials also require regular lime and fertilizer applications in order to remain flourishing.
Hey guys, it's that time of the year again. We got most of our summer food plots sort of established, did some soil samples, figured out what exactly we need for every food plot. We got the lime truck out here today spreading lime. And that's just an extra step to really help your food plots get to the next level. Especially for us, most of our property is just old strip ground, so the soil really isn't that good. And getting the correct lime rate, the correct fertilizer rate, is really gonna help jump the food plot to the next level. And you could have the best seed in the world and it's not gonna come up, or you're not gonna see the results you want if you don't take those soil samples and find out exactly what your soil needs.
Our perennial food plots do require some work, but it is well worth it for the amount of nutrition they provide our wildlife. Now it's time to switch gears and talk about annual forages that we plant, such as soybeans and corn. The soybeans in particular provide a high quality forage throughout the summer months, picking up right where the perennials left off. Historically, our soybean and corn crops have not been overly successful due to the high deer population on our property. The deer would usually browse off the crops so heavily that they would not get a chance to mature. Because of this, corn is something we rarely plant. We simply cannot plant enough of it with the limited number of fields we have on our property. Soybeans are similar in this regard. However, we have learned a few tricks over the years in order to keep deer from browsing the young plants and allowing them to mature.
Well, we're out here today fencing off our beans. We haven't planted beans in probably 2 or 3 years because our deer density has just been out of control. You know, we have crazy browse lines in the woods. The deer just decimated all the vegetation in the forest. But the last 2 years, really managing the herd, we've probably taken off close to 70 doe. So hopefully get these beans fenced in and they don't get in it. And we'll see if we can actually grow some beans this year. It's been super dry lately. We had some rain last night. You can see the dirt's a little brown, but the beans are slowly coming up. They needed that rain, and hopefully we get some more. Get the sucker fenced in today, and hopefully the deer stay out of it.
Fencing off a large section of our beans allows the plant to mature and produce a bean pod, which is a great food source come late fall and winter. This food source then offers some incredible hunting opportunities when managed and designed correctly. This was a basic breakdown of our spring food plot approach we take each year in our property. In the future, we will definitely be releasing more in-depth episodes about the specifics of building food plots from start to finish. The bulk of this information we have learned through trial and error, allowing me to say it's not the only way to do things, but it is what has worked for us. Each year, our knowledge of forage types, wildlife needs, and planting practices evolve. I encourage you to go out of your way this year, try planting a food plot on your property or a piece you have access to. Whether it's a small quarter-acre food plot you planted using hand tools, or it's a large-scale plot you plant with the neighbor's equipment, get out there and make your hunting land better than when you found it. I hope you were able to learn something today from our breakdown of our spring food plot strategy, and thanks for watching the off-season.